I think we just got the message.
Perfect. Do you see the red dot that says recording? It is recording now. Take it away, Tony.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Holly. And so, like all of you, we are quite hopeful that the infection will decline considerably so that we can get back to our normal in-person instruction and teaching. The other day, I looked into the eyes of cabinet members on our Monday morning check-in, and I think I reflected the same look that I was seeing on my screen. We were just miserable in having to wait out this pandemic, and we're frustrated and tired and exhausted from all of it. And so we have to remain hopeful. We have to believe that there's some positive element that's going to happen soon, because our teaching staff, our support staff, our students, their families are anxiously awaiting for us to get back to in-school, in-person instruction and teaching. And we desperately need to get there soon. But as of today, it is rather worrisome at this point in time with the pandemic that's running rampant, not only here in Pierce County, but the state and certainly the nation. Here tonight to talk to us maybe in greater detail than I can share is Lori Carnes. Lori, I hope you're with us this evening.
Yes, I am. Thank you for letting me be here once again. I think it's been about 3 weeks since our last call, and things have changed, not for the better, really. So I just kind of like to give an update of where we were when we last met compared to where we are now. So at our meeting about 3 weeks ago, at that time in the past 14 days, we had reported 1,012 cases. To contrast that, in the past 14 days as of now, we've reported 1,781 cases. So in a 2-week period, we have reported over 700 more additional cases, which is about 50 more every day. So last meeting, our 14-day case rate per 100,000 in Pierce County was 112. We are now up to 197.5. That averages out to 127 cases per day. That is the highest that we've ever seen it in Pierce County, and there really aren't any signs that that number is going to decline anytime soon. We do report our data with a 6-day data lag, so our case rate per 100,000 over a 14-day period is 155.8. You'll notice if you've looked at our dashboards, that scale only goes to 150. So our needles are kind of all the way maxed out, and we will most likely need to, unfortunately, reset those. We've also experienced a lot of days where we've had extremely high case counts. I think it was Saturday we reported our highest case count ever for that Friday before. So we hit 223 cases in one day. Now, to kind of put that in perspective, if we wanted to meet that case rate of 25 cases per 100,000 over a 14-day period, that was the metric for Safe Start to move to the next phase. We could only have 225 cases over 2 weeks, and essentially we had that in one day. So we are experiencing a very high increase in our case count. I think the first day that I saw it in the 200s, I had to do a double, triple take. I was on a meeting and I went, wait, did I really see that right? Because I think it was at 214 that day, which was extremely high, and we continue to have numbers like that now. It's increased testing. Our testing, I believe, we're still averaging, I want to say about 1,700 tests a day, or excuse me, I think it's a day. And what we're seeing, or excuse me, let's see, 1,700 tests per day. What we're seeing with that is the percent of tests that are positive, that's starting to creep back up. So for our last reporting period for test positivity, it was October 18th to the 24th. Our test positivity rate was at 5.2%. So that's kind of been steadily increasing since the beginning of October when we were at 2.9. So we've gone from 2.9 to 4 to 4.4, and now we're up to 5.2. So I suspect the next data reporting period for our percent positivity will probably be even higher than what we're seeing now, just because we are seeing that community spread. And as a reminder, that number, we are looking for under 5% test positivity. So going off of the decision tree, we are obviously well above our 75 cases per 100,000. So we continue to be in that high COVID activity level, which is recommending remote learning for everyone except for small groups of 5 for those highest need students. I know there's been some talk at a state level at revising that decision tree, but my concern is that even if it is revised and those numbers are changed, I think we will still be in the high COVID activity level just based on the trajectory that we are headed in. So I don't think it will make too much of an impact at the moment for where we are heading. So I wish I had happier news to report. But this is the time where we really have to kind of buckle down and start practicing what we've been doing all along and just continuing on with that. I know it gets more difficult as we move into the winter months. It's much more difficult to gather outside. I know I'm miserable when I take the dog for a walk now, but we have to come up with innovative ways to still see each other and make that contact, but also be safe at the same time. So with Thanksgiving and the holidays coming, people are talking about doing Thanksgiving in very innovative ways. So I encourage all of you to take a minute and really think through, is it worth it to have, the large family gathering and put those relatives at risk this year? Or maybe do something slightly different and have a memorable COVID Thanksgiving this year. It will certainly help keep our community safe, and the sooner we get over this hurdle, the sooner we are all back to normal and the sooner we are back in school. So I think that's the messaging that I'd like to leave with all of you as we do go into this holiday season, is to think a little out of the box so we can move back into the box a little bit sooner.
Well, thank you so much, Lori. We really appreciate it that you've taken time each time we've met to share with us the details that are so important and a part of your work, and how you have simplified the complexities of this pandemic in real simple terms for us to understand. So again, thank you very much, Lori. I think I just heard Lori say that I don't need to go out looking for a 24-pound turkey for the Apostle family this year. I think I'll be looking at a 6 or 7 pound butterball that'll have to serve as the Thanksgiving meal. But yeah, it's just going to be a real change in lifestyle in terms of getting together with relatives and family. We do really have to think in ways of separating ourselves from non-family members and be as safe as possible. This evening, we are going to hear from 2 very important individuals. As all of you are aware, we have a very strong athletic program in Orting, and that our student athletes, our coaches, and the families of our student athletes are very, very excited about getting back to normalcy in terms of our athletic programs and getting back to our seasons. And we have not only the Twin Pierce County Health Department advising us in this matter, but we have the WIAA that is also weighing in on these decisions as to the sports seasons during the 2021 school year. So here tonight we have Karen Buchholz and Marty Parkhurst, who will be speaking to us about how the leagues have entered into making some decisions and other issues that are going to be facing our student athletes at both the middle school and the high school. So, Karen, if you're here tonight, you're welcome to offer some of your comments this evening. There she is.
So sorry about that, guys. I apologize for the bad service if it's a little bit off. I'm hoping you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
We're good? Okay. At the middle school level, the Plateau League has made a couple of decisions that impact all of our schools. And the first of those decisions is that we have agreed that we will not have any in-person athletics until our students are back in the building, at least in some capacity. If we are in a hybrid model at the middle school level, then we will start with an intramural program where our students are only participating with students from our school. And then once our school is back 100% in person, then we would open up the option to then compete against the other schools in our league. But the challenge that we face at the middle school level is that we currently have 4 sports seasons. And best case scenario, if we were to start those seasons at the first of the year, we would be down to about a 5 to 6 week sports season. If students were only participating in school 2 days a week, it would take us 3 weeks to even meet the minimum number of practices before you could have a competition against another school. So with that in mind, it just was not logical to explore the opportunity to put these kids on a bus and go play against another school. So to keep our kids active, intramural programs seemed like the best bet to have our kids be active and still learning. And then when we were in person 4 or 5 days a week, we could then look at competing against the other schools. Our guess is that our best case scenario would be to have a spring sports season. And that is the sport that got cut last year. So our hope would be that spring sports would be the one that might actually get to have full participation. But again, that is a challenge. I cannot see the chat, so I apologize for that.
So does anyone have any questions for Karen? Well, we really appreciate you coming on this evening and giving us the details about life at the middle schools and the league decisions that have been handed down. Many people think all the decisions are made by the school district, by the superintendent, by the school board, but we have other entities and organizations that are making decisions on our behalf. So again, Karen, thank you so much for presenting and being here tonight. If anyone has any questions, be sure to pass them on to Holly, and Holly will move them to the respective individual.
Hey, just one really quick question for Karen. So are we doing any virtual engagement with students at all at the middle school level?
That determination has not been made yet. And our reasoning is we were waiting for the high school to have an established virtual schedule, because so many of my coaches also coach a high school sport. And so until we knew the schedule of what the high school was doing, we felt that we didn't want to step on the toes or conflict with those coaches' schedules. Once the high school set, then we are 100% opening to getting virtual activities going at the middle school level.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, that's a solid, logical decision, and it makes good sense. All right, Karen, thank you. Next, we have Marty Parkhurst to give us an update on the high school athletic program.
Well, let me give a quick lesson in how the state has set up high school athletics. Let's talk about the sports themselves. We have what are called high-risk sports. There's 3 categories. High-risk sports, which are basketball, wrestling, football, and cheerleading, believe it or not, if you do any stunting of cheerleading. So those are what the state health department, the governor, and WIAA and our risk management pool have deemed high-risk sports. For those sports to take place, we must be under 25 cases per 100,000. Well, we're blowing everything out of the water currently, and we're going in the wrong direction. But those are the high risk. So let's talk about each category. In the medium risk would be volleyball, girls and boys soccer, baseball, fast pitch. Those are medium risk. They are allowed to play and start their season if we get between 25 and 75. Okay, so that's kind of their range that we're looking for. Currently, certainly not there, but that would be the hope that at some point we could get there. Now, our low-risk sports are golf, tennis, which we don't offer, so really it's golf, cross country, and track. So what the state has said, that those sports, we offer 3 of them, golf, cross country, and track, they can compete or turn out at any level of COVID numbers. They get to exceed the 75, and there is no cap on those 3 sports. So here's where we're headed. They set up December 28th as the first day for real in-season athletics. I'll talk about out-of-season training and such shortly. But the first season should begin December 28th and basically run January, February. Well, here's our problem. The state put basketball and wrestling in that gap. Those are both high-risk sports. Well, I'll tell you what, January, February, we are not going to get under 25 cases per 100,000 people. So WIAA is frantically trying to work through some things. In fact, I just got a text message from Tim Thompson at the start of this meeting. We're talking through what potentially can we do on December 28th. The WIA Executive Board meets next Tuesday night, and they're going to have to do some jockeying around. The only thing that we could offer would be cross country or golf. Well, we were on a big conference call with all the athletic directors around the state. And as soon as they said, well, we could have cross country or golf, all the Eastern Washington schools are saying, are you crazy? In a foot of snow in January and February, you want to have golf? It'd be impossible, or cross country. So I don't know. They're really struggling. They're trying to see what they can make fit. Before the board is a proposal that we don't start until February, and maybe look at doing 2 seasons, hoping that we can get those COVID numbers down. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not holding my breath, but it'd be great if we could offer something for our kids. And that's what WIA is really looking for, is a way that we can pull that off. So we're struggling, but that's where we're at as far as the state of the state address. Okay, so there's seasons. Now, let me talk about out of season training. You probably will hear that there are some schools currently participating. A few of them are looking at pulling back now that our numbers are so high. But we have some districts that are trying to work in what are called pods of 6. So you can have up to 6 kids in a pod, and they can go out in very strict structure. They are able to, in person, no matter what the COVID numbers are, according to the state, they could. Our district has tried to say, obviously, COVID going up 155 cases per 100,000. We're not in a position to start athletics. The Auburn School District, all 3 high schools. Kent, 4 high schools. Federal Way, 4 high schools. On and on. None of those schools are opening up in person. Fife, no. Bethel, no. But there still are a few that are out there trying to do something. Until we get our numbers under control, what we've been talking about with the coaches, we have a coaches meeting Thursday night at 6 o'clock where I'll gather them all together. And there's a couple things happening. We're going to work at encouraging our coaches to meet. They have been already, most of them. But we're going to ask them to meet with our teams virtually. And we'll set up a schedule for coaches to get together with their kids and do team building activities, encourage them to get out and work out, talk about academics, things that we can cover virtually with kids, with a goal of our coaches, of course, relationally being with kids. That's what we want. And we want that carrot for many kids that need it as far as academics go. So we're going to start virtually down that road. Secondly, we're going to go ahead, hopefully by Friday afternoon. I talked to Michaela Kaling. She kind of heads up our family ID. And family ID is how we register athletes for athletics. We're going to open up family ID this Friday, by Friday afternoon, and we're going to encourage all our kids to get signed up for what we're calling out of season training. So if we could hit any number that would be reasonable, and the Ording School District says, okay, let's take a look at that and bring some kids back in pods of 6, then we would be ready to go. They must have physical proof of insurance. There will be a COVID attestation form in there. So all the parents have a heads up for what it is that they'd be signing up for. Worst case scenario, we can't meet in person. I'm thinking that's possible. If that happened, at least we would have our kids registered, cleared by our nursing staff, and having all the things in place that would be necessary for them to participate in athletics in person if we could get there. So, we're kind of hoping and hanging on. We're going to push to get kids signed up and involved. We will start virtually and see where these numbers take us. So for me, the most alarming number that I heard tonight is not the 155 from Lori. That's terrible, but we're over 5% for the first time. What that tells all the schools that are doing activities with in person, Puyallup School District, Curtis, there's a few out there, Bellarmine High School, Franklin Pierce. As soon as you hit the magic number 5, you got to pull the plug because that number was set. So I'm not sure how they're going to address it, or are they going to wait for a 6-day lag? But boy, when she tonight told us that it's at 5.2, that's problematic. So I'm not sure how they're going to address that, but that's where we're headed. Hopefully that gives you a big picture of what's happening around the state. The WIA executive board is scrambling. They're trying anything and everything that they can do. But if we don't either get newer numbers from the state health department and the government, or COVID really takes a big drop, we're just not going to get there by December 28th. So we'll see how this plays out. Anyway, questions for me that I could help? I just want this to be really clear for us, because I'm sure you've heard from community and kids and all sorts of things. So if you have any questions, please bounce those off me. If I don't know the answer, I'll certainly get you answers. I'm on my 4th athletic director meeting since last Thursday, and we keep hashing stuff over, trying to figure out a way to get our kids involved. We know the importance of it, but we just got to find a way to do it safely. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Marty. Good job.
Yeah, Karen.
Yeah, good job. I appreciate the update and all the work to really find a way. And I don't really have a question, but more of an ask. If when you share this information with our community, the fact that you are continuing to meet and talk and try to find a way to get our kids engaged, I would love to give them some hope and incentive to register and to sign up and to participate in the virtual practices, because we do want them engaged, and that is very important to their education. And they need hope, and they need a reason to show up for their sports that they've been passionate about. And hopefully that can come through in your message.
Yeah, and I've already been talking to coaches. You're right. We want to keep hope alive. It's a tough time for them, obviously, for all of us. And yeah, I don't want to say things aren't going to happen, but our numbers between all of us in this meeting, our numbers aren't looking very good right now.
Yeah. Are there going to be any adjustments or changes for participation requirements?
Well,
eligibility?
Yeah, well, eligibility won't change. I mean, they'll still need the regular stuff. What WIA is looking at is, would they change those numbers, 0 to 25, 25 to 75? Would they expand that to 100? They're throwing everything out there.
What about like grades, eligibility for grades?
Currently, they are all still in place. Grades are. But having said that, a lot of school districts that are really struggling with kids that are behind and failing multiple classes, this learning environment is not meeting the needs of groups of our community. Mm-hmm. And what the athletic directors have sent to WIAA is, hey, could this be a weird year? And maybe we allow a little grace for kids for academic standards. We have a 2.0 GPA rule. That's above the state standard. The state is pass 5 out of 6 classes. That's it. Done. We have 5 out of 6, and you must be at a 2.0 grade point average. So we'll see. WIA is going to take a look at that whole idea of how do, it's an equity piece for a lot of communities that are really struggling with at-risk learners.
And Marty, we got to remember that 2.0 is for kids to compete. So we've never taken kids away from coaches and practicing because they have low grades. The last thing we want to do is for a kid that's disengaged in schools, remove him from that adult and peer influence in sports. So we allow kids to practice. And when we're talking about virtual practice, we allow kids to practice right now. We don't allow them to compete because that's kind of your carrot that you use with kids. So we've never had a policy where if a kid doesn't have a 2.0, they're not allowed access to a caring adult. So so far we haven't changed that policy.
Cool. If we could share that too, because I wouldn't want a kid to say, I'm not going to qualify anyway, so I'm not going to sign up.
Right. No, and again, that's that hope piece.
Right.
We want them to have hope, and we want it to be a carrot to get kids motivated. So, yes.
Yeah, we need all the carrots we can get right now.
No kidding. No kidding.
Good job tonight, Marty. Appreciate it. Karen, thank you for your work as well. We have several people that are going to be speaking here. Next, we have Jennifer Planellis, who is going to be talking to us about Edgenuity. And we really appreciate Jennifer's hard work. She has been working tirelessly. And so, Jennifer, are you with us tonight?
I am here. I've got my camera off because apparently there's been some challenges with, so can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So, Tony, to be clear, you want me to talk about the online academy, or I wasn't quite clear when it said Edgenuity. I was like, okay, what do you want me to talk about?
You're free to speak to anything within the remote learning category.
Okay, so online academy, I think I can definitely say we've got some challenges and some successes. So I'll talk about success first. The majority of the kids in the online academy are doing well. We have 71%. So one of the OSPI requirements is that every month you do a monthly progress report. And the interesting piece to that is that we establish what satisfactory progress looks like. So I established a bar, pretty simply, that if they weren't 40% complete with their class, that wouldn't be on track to get the class done by January. Using that bar, 71% of our kids are on track. Marty Parkhurst and Michaela Kaling did conferences with those kids. Backing up a bit, there are 132 kids in the academy. So they conferenced with each and every one of those kids last week and went over their progress with them. And one of the important things in the online academy is constant communication with the kids. One sort of a common misconception is that the kids are enrolled, they're just working online, you just have to kind of watch them, and it's just simply not true. They need a lot of communication, they need a lot of contact, and a lot of oversight to encourage them, keep them going. It's pretty easy to get, you can imagine if all we did was just let them sit on a computer for 5 hours every day, that would not go well. The remaining 42 students, 4 of them have just not engaged, and we are in the process of following sort of a protocol for withdrawal. The other 38, I met with each and every one of them last week and established an intervention plan. Intervention plans, again, it's another one of those documents that has to be in place. But I've met with the kids, we've implemented a plan. More than half of those kids will be on track by the end of this week. So I think, in success land, I think we're doing really well. I think the kids are doing well. The struggles is we're not, because of furlough, nobody's fault. We had to do some staff cutbacks, and we're just not staffed correctly at this time. And as a result, that staffing deficit is going to impact kids. We are working on solutions, but at this time, that's the struggle. Mr. Freeze probably can talk more accurately about the high school in general, in the remote learning in the high school. We've changed our model a little bit, and the kids are doing more of a blended thing between Edgenuity, and what we were finding was it was just a struggle. And so the kids are now doing more blended with some of their work in Google Classroom, some of their work in Edgenuity. And I believe that that's going also very well from where we were a week or so ago. I think that's about all I have to say.
Well, Jennifer, we really appreciate your passion, your enthusiasm, your work ethic. And yes, we have areas to improve, of course, but thank you for your hard work. We really appreciate what you're doing. Next, we have Steve Rabb to discuss reopening of our schools, K through 12.
Thanks, Tony. Well, like Tony said earlier, the energy level that we have in dealing with this is strained right now, just because, well, it might be what I would feel like if I was thinking that my goal is to fit into last year's swimsuit. So it's not that it's not impossible. It's possible, but it might be a lot of work, and I don't know how likely, to be honest with you. But anyway, as the numbers go the opposite direction of really what we want, it does get a little bit tough to start saying, hey, we got to get plowing forward, we got to move forward, we got to plan for this thing. But in light of that, what we've done so far is we met with a group of administrators from the Meade School District over in the Spokane area, because they've had kids face-to-face in a hybrid model since the beginning of the year. So we had an initial conversation with them. We had all of our administrators and 3 levels of administrators from them. So the conversation was a kind of an introductory conversation more than anything else, getting our people to know their people a little bit. Our principals are going to be reaching out to these colleagues as well as some other colleagues. We have some systems around us that have branched out and done the hybrid, either elementary or all the way over up into the high school area. We get out in the Chimicon area, Jefferson County area, as Alicia shared with us a little bit earlier. So we're at the spot right now where we're trying to envision this a little bit based on other people's practice and what they've learned that worked and didn't work. And then that gives us the ability to kind of determine what that looks like here in Oregon. We know that in moving forward, we will be very intentional in involving our stakeholders in the development of this, not the least of which, and probably more specifically, our teaching and support staff in the development of what we're doing, because they're the ones that will carry the water on whatever model that we implement. So we're just doing some background work right now to actually shape some options that we could then involve our teaching and support staff in, to just try to figure out what does that look like for ording. So we are inching forward in that in the midst of what we're doing, and I'm encouraged by the way the principals are thinking about it. They are looking at each of this. So they took the Meade stuff and they were able to see the highlights in it. They were able to see the shadows in it. They had some good questions about it. So they're really being thoughtful about it. They're really trying to understand it at a deeper level, knowing that the decision that we make needs to be a decision that we can hopefully live with and not be in, as Tony has indicated more than one time, we don't want to be in a situation where we're bouncing back and forth. We may not be able to control all of that, but if we can put something together that actually gives us the best guarantee at a certain rate where the numbers are, where we can start implementing it, that is going to be our target.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve. Good summation, and appreciate your work, and with it, especially our principals as well.
And you guys won't be able to
Chris
get that swimsuit image out of your minds now, will you?
You had me going on that swimsuit.
It'll be like that song that just keeps rolling in your head.
It's stuck.
You just can't unsee
It's
that.
stuck.
All right. We have Chris Willis to talk to us about our special education services and our safety protocols.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me here today. One of the things I wanted to start out with is some good news. We actually did our academic screening, and over 90% of our students in the elementary, first through fifth, had completed their academic screening for the fall. And we had a little under 60% of our middle schoolers participate in our screening. What that does is it helps us identify kids who may need some additional support in our intervention. Currently at PTR, we have 34 groups of students on a daily basis, serving over 110 students each day. And this is all for literacy or early literacy. For our Ording Primary School, we have 32 groups going at once, serving 91 students in intervention. And those are average groups of four to five students online each day, served by our paraeducators as well as our intervention teachers. Where our focus is on literacy, has been through our Title I program and through our LAP program. Literacy has been a focus for the last 4 years, at least since I've been here, so that we can support the students who are not actually at grade level. The second piece is that we're now at 218 students who are receiving special education services in the district. That's about 10% of our total student population. We're also serving about 12 students in our ELL programs as well, which hasn't changed since the last time we talked. In regards to safety protocols, making the shift here, we've had to change some of our safety protocols based upon the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department and the Washington Department of Health. We've changed some of our protocols, and all of those have been handed out to our staff to implement while students are in school. And these protocols are utilized for staff as well as students. The last project that I've been working on, is our athletic protocols. And I want to share with you really quickly the athletic protocol, and hopefully you can see this. Share. Here we go. Sharing screen. I think I'm presenting to everybody. Everybody see that? Oh, can you excuse me?
I see Marty.
I see a C.
You don't see anything?
I see a C.
I see a blue C.
Yep,
a
blue circle with a white C.
And I see Marty Parker.
Okay, I'm going to stop. I'll stop. I tried. I like the way it looked. Here we go. There we go. I'll stop.
Hold it up to the camera.
Hold it up to the camera. All right. So thanks to the basically Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department, also the WIAA, and also the CDC, we created some athletic safety protocols for when our students begin in-person and virtual practices. The first area that I need you to know about is athletic eligibility and medical clearance. So one of the things that athletes will have to do to be prepared and to be ready for sports, whether it's virtually or in person, is that they'll have to complete, as usual, the pre-participation physical evaluation and immunizations. And remember, immunizations for kids who are not in school were not required, but if they're going to participate in sports, immunizations are required. And then even if it's virtual training, healthcare plans need to be up and running and verified by our health services staff. In regards to the physical evaluation, the thing that's changed, and I think one of the board members brought this up. How is the pre-participation physical evaluation changed? Really, it comes down to whether or not, number one, the student has had confirmed COVID disease. And if the student has a confirmed COVID disease, he'll have to have follow-up doctor's evaluation, or physician's or health provider evaluation in order to participate. The second thing that we have to take into consideration, given the COVID pandemic, are kids who may have asthma, heart conditions, diabetes, or a weakened immune system. This whole thing has changed. Before, you'd have students with these conditions, but now you add the layer of COVID on it, and there's a requirement or a recommendation. Sorry, it's not a requirement, a recommendation that we get further evaluation from a doctor if the student has those conditions. So in regards to your questions earlier, those two areas, whether or not the student has had a confirmed COVID and whether or not they have a high-risk medical condition, those two areas actually make our pre-participation physical evaluation a little bit more complex. And so people need to know that that's the big change. The second thing that yes.
Chris, sorry, I got another question.
Yeah.
Is that recommendation and or requirement, is that something that's global? You said these safety recommendations came from the CDC, or did we make that up and the doctors are going to be confused when we call for that?
So that's my challenge next. So one of the things is that it's strongly recommended, this came from the WIAA, that the medical evaluation is strongly recommended prior to return to sports. And so, and then for the high-risk medical conditions, it's recommended. So you got the strongly recommended, and then you got the recommended. And so we have to determine as a school district how we're going to decipher that. And I'm sure I'm going to be asking Lori for some support in that area in regards to what to do with that. Yes.
When you say return to sports, are you talking about return to in-person, or are you talking about the virtual coaches meetings?
The meetings are not, it's the physical activity. If they need participation in physical, if they need the pre-participation physical evaluation complete prior to being able to participate, these things have to be considered.
Got it. So they don't need those. They don't need immunization and physicals to have a virtual meeting on Google Meet, talk to their coach.
No, but if they're getting together with each other, then the immunization, and if we've made immunization, which it is, to be in person, we have to make sure that that's complete as well. And so, all right. In regards to, and I'll make sure that people get a copy of this. Holly, I'll give it to you so that people get a copy. The protocol that was completed talks about prior to practice, what that looks like, the athletic hygiene and health protocols during practice, and then during practice. What are the hand and respiratory hygiene requirements? What are the mask requirements? Discussion regarding shared objects. What does that look like? Modified layouts regarding the practice and the social distancing requirements and practices. And then the requirements after practice related to sanitation, participation rosters being submitted to the athletic secretary each day, and then which athletic exclusions would be reported to administration. And by athletic exclusions would mean if they didn't pass their attestation, number one, number two, if they didn't pass their screening, and number three, if they represented any symptoms at all during the course of the practice. And so I'll make sure that people get a copy of this. This is a draft copy. I just shared it today with Marty and Lynn, and I did to Tony as well. And so I'll make sure that everyone gets a copy of it. But the one thing that I want to make sure in regards to it is, in regards to the medical clearance, that we still need some information on, is information related to if the student has had COVID, and if the information related to high risk medical conditions. Those are the two areas that may get in the way, and that we have to figure out what the process is for those two areas. I think that's it.
Well, Chris, we really appreciate your attention to detail, your thoroughness. You're very conscientious, and we can't find a better person leading our safety protocols. Good job, and keep up the good work. Really, really do appreciate it. So at this point, we have Lynn to kind of wrap us up before we answer any questions from our 32 participants tonight.
Well, Tony, before
Lynn.
I hand it off to Marcy Bannon for an update, I just want to again echo the thanks to Chris and our nursing staff. As we've been planning with Marty and coaches and folks how we're going to get our kids connected to sports, the person that I knew I had to go to make sure that once we're back in place was Chris Willis, because he does have that attention to detail. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that and the work that he's done. So thank you, Chris. And with that.
Yeah, and Lynn, really quickly, I want everybody to know that my wife, Kathy, is completely surprised. So.
He tried to give me her phone number today so I would call her and compliment him. But, you're almost there. Another help like you've done, I'm happy to call her.
Okay.
So thank you.
I will call her too, Chris.
So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Marcy just to give an update on our expanded enhanced meal delivery.
So just so you all are aware, I'm sure you know, as of Monday, we expanded the number of places we're dropping off meals on a daily basis to 16. Today we had our highest number of lunches made and served. And Joanne, I know it was over 300, but I can't remember the exact number, but this is the first time this year we've hit over 300 meals served. So that's great. We had some feedback about our meals, and Joanne has done a great job of adding things to our meals. So it is a variety of choices now on different days. And if anyone needs, we do have the menu on our district website under the same place it's always been, under departments, nutrition services, meals, menus, sorry. And it's out there. So if anyone is ever interested in what we are serving that day for the breakfast lunch, it is on our website. So I think that's all I got.
Marcy?
Yeah.
Yes. It was 359.
Yeah. It was a good number today. That was huge.
Mm-hmm. And the menu is subject to change.
Yes.
I wanted to say, while I was out walking, I saw a mom and their child and a middle schooler and some other people. I was just walking up the street, and there they were waiting for the bus, getting their lunches. So it was nice to see them out and about and people waiting for it.
Yeah, and I need to follow up on what Joanne just said. We do have menus posted. However, subject to availability of things actually showing up in the district, the menu could change.
Very good. As many of you know, Holly Mortensen is posting the daily Tacoma Pierce County Health Department statistics in terms of infections. We've received some positive feedback for posting those. And yet, I have a great deal of respect. There's 32 people still on this meeting tonight, and everybody has been really conscientious and great in their attendance. So very much appreciated. However, I think that as we continue to follow the infection rate, I don't believe it's necessary at this time to schedule another task force meeting until we see any significant changes that take place. And so what I'd like to suggest is that we meet on an as-needed basis in the future. I know it's important that we stay tight and communicate with one another, and we can do that through our written communications as well. It may not be necessary for us to dedicate time in an evening meeting, taking you away from your families as we move into the colder weather and the darkest nights, as the darker days, as we have the shortened days coming up all the way up to the end of December. But meeting together is really helpful. I think hearing from a number of voices on the complexities of how we're dealing with this pandemic, how it affects our instructional program, our extracurricular programs as well, and dealing with the social and emotional issues that our families and our students and our staff are facing is very complicated stuff. But at this point in time, I am not going to offer a next meeting schedule, but I want you to know that as our conditions change, we will announce a meeting, and so we'll be in a situation of a as needed meeting basis. So I hope that you all understand that and can agree with that. Does anybody have any questions as we come to closure to this meeting tonight? And if we have more questions that take us beyond 7 o'clock, that's fine too. But I'd like to open it up to our 32 guests with any questions for the people who presented tonight or questions in general.
Hey, Tony. I want to thank you and everybody else who worked so hard. A lot of sad faces tonight. I think we're all feeling a little depressed and defeated, but you guys are all still working your tails off to support our kids the way that they should be. I do have to agree that there's no point in getting together if our numbers keep going up. It's just disappointing. Everyone go drink after this. It's okay. My one encouragement for the middle school is please do some sort of sports, even if it's just to get the basketball kids or soccer girls together and just tell them to go run a mile a day or something. I know my son is failing miserably in encouraging. Just between me and our family, we can't encourage him enough. He needs something more. So that's my big ask is please, I know the high school, you guys got a plan started, and I know the middle school is waiting, but please, anything. And yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, Marty, maybe encourage the kids to wear their school colors if they're out on the trail running or, whatever they're doing, represent. So see them and support them.
Yeah, good idea.
That's a great idea.
I've seen our wrestlers do that. Some of them got together for a run, and they all wear their Ording stuff, and so that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Jenny,
a group of wrestlers delivered a T-shirt, a wrestling T-shirt to me. So they're lobbying strong.
And Jenny, you are so right. The middle school kids really need it.
Any final comments? All right, everyone. Thank you so much. See many of you soon. Have a great night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Say bye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.